Hey, lovelies, let's get into it. So, the first scene was the ladies' deliberation, and Dakia was basically talking about the incident with Eric. Now, you guys know they took 2 weeks to tell us practically nothing about what's going on. Anyways, so the deliberation, Dakia was basically saying that, she no longer wants to date Eric and Eric needs to grow up by himself and she doesn't think, he's ready to love her, essentially. And she basically didn't say too much, but in her confessional, she was saying that apparently they were trying to take a picture. He grabbed her around her waist. She made a joke about it, and then he proceeded to get physical with her. I personally think they didn't give us too many details, but I personally think he probably grabbed her somewhere inappropriate and she just could not handle. And, he just did not accept the fact that she did not want to be grabbed in that way. Now, here's the thing. People need to learn to keep their hands to themselves. Just because you want to take a picture with someone does not mean you need to grab them anywhere. You need to ask for permission and then do so, okay? If she says yes. Like, don't be out here grabbing people, like, in places that are inappropriate. So I'm hoping we find out more about it on the reunion, but I don't know. It just sounds like the same way the Shiloh and Phil situation was just so vague and no one was giving us enough information. I don't think we're going to get enough information about what exactly happened, okay? Anyways, Nephew Tommy basically said, it's time to grab your ex and introduce him to your next. I was like, all right, Nephew Tommy with the play on words, okay. And Ace was like, I never let an ex meet the next. I was like, yes, honey, yes. But seriously though, like in the real world, like, yeah, nah, you ain't gonna be meeting none of my exes, honey. None. Anyway, so Joy, her ex, Sean, and Clifton went on a date. And so Joy was basically saying to the ex, like, there are two people I want you to meet. One of them is going to be bang, 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 and that's Levine. And so whilst she was trying to talk to her ex about Levine walked in and she was like, oh, speak of the devil. They hug and then they, start getting into it. Levine actually was very personable in the sit down with the ex. He seemed to just be bantering and having a good old time. Who knows if it's an act? I don't know with Levine. 1 minute is hot, the next minute is cold. Who knows? Anyways, they all seem to be getting along quite well. And then Clifton walked in. Now, I could tell Clifton was not here for it. Clifton had that energy like, yo, why am I meeting your ex? I don't want to do that. Clifton just was not about that life. He did not want to be there. It was so visible. And yeah, that was just not, what it was. And then Clifton proceeded to say, let me understand how this relationship works. I'm guessing the relationship between Joy and Sean, the ex, right? Do you guys talk on holidays or how often do you guys speak? And then Sean was like, I know Joy pretty well and jealousy is not going to get you anywhere. I'm like, yes, ex, school the next, honey, school the next. And Clifton was like, do you think I'm jealous? And Sean was like, well, your questions are rooted in jealousy. I'm like, okay, Sean, you better stand your ground. And Clifton was not here for it. But in the end, it sounded like they eventually got on a good standing, eventually. But yeah. Anyways, let's now move on to Eric and Tommy, right? So Eric had a little chat with nephew Tommy, right, about the whole Dakia situation. Now, Eric said, he didn't really feel good about it. He said Dakia and her had a conversation. He hurt Dakia's feelings and that was not his intention. I'm just like, guy, why are you so vague? Tell us what happened. Anyway, so in his confessionals, he basically said that they were at an event. She thought he did something disrespectful. He was trying to get more of an intimate, close type picture. She said no. And, she said she doesn't do that hands. Like, he should keep his hands off her, basically. So I'm guessing he was trying to touch her inappropriately. She said hell to the no. And yeah, that was that. So eventually during the conversation, Eric told nephew Tommy that he wanted to self-eliminate and he doesn't think he's ready to love. He still needs to work at being better at communicating. And I was like, okay. Sorry guys, I'm so tired today. For the ladies watching, I'm sure you guys know what's going on. Anyways, we move back to the awkward ass conversation between Clifton, Laverne, and the ex. So Laverne and Clifton and the ex were talking, and the ex, whose name I can't remember now, oh, Sean, yes. So his ex, Sean, was basically saying, you're holding up to a standard based on your past, you can't do that. Then Clifton started to go into depth about how he went to therapy and still goes to therapy to unpack these issues, right? So the ex basically said that after the guys left, as much as it pains him to say, he thinks Clifton is more her type. That Levine said a lot of superficial things, but with Clifton, there was a lot more substance there. And, essentially, she was basically saying Clifton has a lot of issues. But he's trying to work through those issues, and at least he's being honest about those issues. They talked a little bit about how Black men honestly don't really acknowledge that they are being in therapy or don't even accept therapy and things like that. So I guess Clifton was doing better and, he's a better fit in that sense. But one thing the ex did say was Clifton is a better fit, but he comes with the risk. And I can definitely see that because I felt like during the dates, he was very anti the ex, even though what the ex represents. And to me, I'm like, okay, are you anti-exes or are you anti-other men in general being around your woman? Now, I hope it's the ex thing and not that, because that is not going to go down well. That just gives me concern, a huge sense of cause for concern if I was Joy. Anyways, Joy basically said, whenever I ever played it safe, I'm like, all right, girl, that comes with his risk, but if you're ready to fly and jump, who am I to stop you from jumping? And in a confessional, she was basically like, Clifton is not a risk. We'll probably be jumping off the cliff together. I was like, all right, okay, cool. Sounds like you guys got a good thing going on. So who am I to try and, get involved? Anyway, so the next date was Carmen, her ex, and Paul. So I don't know if it was just me, but you guys, did you see how Carmen and her ex were heavily flirting when the date started? Like, it can't just be me, guys. Like, it really can't just be me. Like, I was a bit like, okay, this is a bit much, but okay. And then eventually, then Donovan also joined, right? And then the next scene they showed us was basically Ace, her ex, Levine, and Tori, right? So our ex opened the conversation by asking Levine whether he was jealous. And he was like, I'm not jealous. I'm like, Levine, calm down. I feel like he feels like he needs to overexert his masculinity and overexert himself. But like, guy, calm down. It's just a conversation. Like, he's like, he doesn't have a jealous bone in his body if he can hold his own next to Barack Obama. I'm like, guy, nobody asked you. Calm down. I don't know what's going on with you. You come across as a man full of insecurities and they're trying to mask it by being overly, trying to force that I'm an alpha energy down our throats, but it's like, guy, you need to calm down. Take it down a few notches, honey. Like, you're doing too much. But anyways, Tori walked in and the ex basically was saying that Levine told him that he's the one for Ace. And Tori was like, well, we think a lot of things, but that don't mean it's facts. I'm like, all right, honey, period. But now I'm back over to Carmen and a little dates with her potential and her ex. I definitely don't see any of them ending up with Carmen, but okay. Anyway, side point. So her ex was like, "Oh, what's their intentions?" And Paul was like, "A little bit of time as my girlfriend, a little bit of time as my fiance, a little bit of time, and the rest of my life as my wife." I'm like, "All right, Paul." Like, I'm actually surprised that Paul has made it thus far. I actually thought Paul was going to go home on the first night. I actually can't believe that he's gone this far along in the process. Like, he seems like a genuine man. It's just, he has no game. I'm sure he's romantic eventually, but he just says some things that just makes me like rethink and think and think and like, I don't know, man. I don't see what they see, but okay. All right, cool. Anyways, so Carmen's ex was basically talking about how she's always going to be around celebrity athletes and good-looking men, and whoever is going to be with her would have to be able to handle it. You be challenged if you don't have your ish together. You might have some late nights where you're like wondering what's going on and stuff like that. Donovan was like, "I don't think that's going to be a problem for me." I'm like, "All right, Donovan, you better say it. I've never backed down from anything." I'm like, "Okay, Donovan, all righty," And then Paul said that, that line of work doesn't really faze him. He's been around that, so I know how that goes. That's basically what he said. And I'm thinking, Paul, what do you do? Aren't you like a system analyst? So then Carmen's ex basically asked Paul like what he does, and he was like, "Oh, he's a systems analyst." And you should have seen Carmen's face. Carmen's was like, ache. Watch, if you guys didn't see it, watch that back. It just was given, oof. Yeah, nah. Anyway, so move back to the conversation with Ace and her ex and Levine and basically the other person. And Tori, yes, that's it. Oh my God, my bad, Tori. So basically when, so the ex was basically saying that, when he met Levine, when he met Ace rather, she was the alpha. And I was like, interesting. So Ace was very, very alpha before. It's interesting. We don't see much of that on the show, but interesting. So he said, when I see Levine, he's the alpha. And then he asked Tori if he's the alpha. And then Tori was like, "I don't think a relationship is about dominating a woman. It's about reciprocating." The guy said, "Facts." I was like, okay. Alrighty. Then after they left, they had like a conversation, the ex and Ace. And the ex was basically saying to Ace, like, "Yo, if you want to lead the way, it would be Tori. If you want to be led, it is Levine." And I'm like, interesting take. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I can never trust Levine to lead me anywhere. So it would be a no for me. So back to Carmen. Carmen's ex said that although he liked Paul, right, he felt like his personality seemed a little bit soft, which I agree with. I think Carmen and Paul will not work. I feel like Carmen will take the piss out of Paul, and Paul will just be like, "Oh my God, my love, sorry, don't do that." So I agree with that. Her ex basically was like, he's not going to be able to handle the challenges that come with being with Carmen, essentially. So she basically said she thinks Donovan is a better fit for her. So, I was like, okay, cool. We'll see. So then we move on to Sabrina. Now, Miss Sabrina is a little busy. Miss Sabrina is like the feel of this season. She was going on a date with her ex and Donovan, Demetrius, and Tori. At first, I thought it was going to be all three of them, but I was like, okay, that would be a recipe for disaster. So instead, it was Sabrina had a little date with her ex and Mr. Demetrius. Now, can I just say, this is the most I've ever heard Demetrius speak all season. So it's nice to actually hear him talk a little bit. Now, so Demetrius walked in, and as soon as he saw Sabrina's ex Wilton, he was like, "Oh, we look alike, so I guess I see the connection." I'm like, all right, fair enough. Then Mr. Tory came in and I just felt bad vibes. I feel like he's still upset about the truth or dare, and he wears his feelings on his sleeves. I feel like he's not over it. He's still upset. And now everywhere he's going, he's carrying that energy with him. So he walked into the date with that bad vibes, I'll be honest. Like, if you're trying to get to know someone and hopefully move forward, then the energy was just not it. He didn't even seem interested in getting to know her. You know, if I had my boyfriend's ex sitting next to me, I would be asking all the right questions. I would grill her, grill him, grill all of them, because I need to have the deets, okay? But he just did not seem interested in the whole thing. He was just like, oh, do I have to be here? Like, yeah, like, who called me here? Like, that's the vibe I was getting. Anyway, Sabrina felt the vibe as well, because she was like, she feels like his demeanor is very surprising. He didn't have any questions. Anyways, as soon as Donovan walked in, Sabrina was smiling from ear to ear, man. She was so cute. That's the happiest I've actually ever seen Sabrina since the start of this show. So, Mr. Donovan, I don't know what you're doing, but you have her smiling all the way, you know? And then Donovan was basically saying that he thinks something is there. Sabrina said yes. And so, do you know what? Tori was there looking like, you know, the side-eye emoji. He was like, ooh, I wish you guys could see my face right now. But that's what he was looking like. I was like, Tori, you're salty because you know Sabrina ain't gonna choose you, honey. You know for a fact, you know for free, honey, that she ain't gonna choose you. And that's a fact. Anyways, that was that. I felt really strongly about that point. So anyways, the ex was basically asking a question like if they had to choose her today, would they? Tori said no. I just think he's just salty. Donovan basically said yes. He has the strongest connection with Sabrina. And I was like, yeah, I do see you guys being together. But of course, we need to see how that, because it's still early days as well. Like, you can have a connection with someone. Like, Eric and Akia seemed like they would work out. But look at that. That didn't work. So, you know, I feel like we shouldn't like start judging so early and stuff. Anyways, after the guys left, Sabrina had a chat with her ex. Her ex basically liked Demetrius and Donovan. So her ex was basically saying that Tori does not fit her personality necessarily, okay? But if she was looking for someone to build with and, you know, survive the tumultuous waters, it would be Demetrius. And I'm guessing because Demetrius comes across more structured, calm, collected. But if you're looking for someone to take you to the mountaintop, that is Donovan. And the ex basically thought that Donovan would make her the happiest. I think so too, because she's naturally very happy just looking at Donovan. So I think I definitely see that. So there is that. Anyways, we move on to Tina. So Tina, this date was probably the funniest or the cringiest. I don't know which one to call it. It had its funny moments and cringy moments. It was cringy all through, but anyways, I'll explain in a moment. So Tina, her ex, and Paul and Demetrius basically went on their little date. And so the ex was basically asking Demetrius, like, what makes you think you're ready for love or ready to love? He was like, oh, he had a divorce and he knew was the problem. He did counseling and he worked through his issues. I was like, all right, Mr. Demetrius. Then they took a little gap there and went over to the dates with Clifton, Dakia, and our ex. So ex was basically asking about whether Clifton, you know, would want to get married. And Clifton was like, well, he's been married twice, but he wants to make sure it's the right fit before he remarries. And then the next marriage will end when one of them dies. I'm like, okay, alrighty. Dakia was me. Dakia was like, that sounds a little bit more morbid. And I was like, yep, that does it. It sure does. It sure does. But I get what he's trying to say. He's not jumping into it. He needs to be certain before he moves down that way. And I totally endorse that, okay? I really get that. Anyways, throughout the dates, they were flirting heavy. Clifton had his hands on her thighs or on her knees, and they were definitely very flirtatious. And Clifton was doing it to find out whether Dakia had a thing for her ex, but Dakia was enjoying it, and they have like a nice flirtatious relationship going on, okay? I don't know if there's much substance there, but there is a flirtation there. That is for sure. Anyway, so back to the Tina date. Now, it's interesting that Tina invited her high school boyfriend. Like, I do wonder, she's 31. Has she dated outside of that high school boyfriend, or was it a terrible relationship that she could not bring that on? Because I know she has a kid, and I think it was a terrible relationship because he cheated or something. So I'm sure she wouldn't want to bring him. But I wonder if perhaps she hasn't dated many people and just thought that would be the best person to bring. But he was singing like a canary. He was not hiding nothing. Yeah, like, he's one of those people that you got to put on timeout. Like, bro, I brought you here so you can ask them questions, not be answering and giving them information that will make them want to run away from me. Like, sir, what are you doing? You did not understand the assignment. Anyways, the ex was exposing everything. The ex basically was saying to the guys that Tina has an anger issue. I'm like, whoa. Like, bro. He kept saying a lot of stuff. He said, like, practically alluded to the fact that she will ghost you. He said she will hold on to stuff. It will keep lingering. She doesn't communicate well. Bro. The ex is an op. I don't care what nobody says. You guys can say, oh, he was telling the truth and stuff. There is a way to tell the truth without leaving both of her connections feeling like this girl is not it. Like, guy, no, you're not. I don't care what nobody tells me. It's either you want to get back with her or you're an op. Or you're an op and you want to get back with her. I don't know, man. You're an op. Either way. So both guys ended up leaving thinking like, wait, is she even ready to love? But, okay. Anyway, so Tina and her ex talked about it after, and he was basically saying that he feels like Paul is the better fit, which I agree. I think Paul is patient. I think Paul comes across as a one-woman man. So I do not think that Tina would have concerns there in terms of in terms of him cheating. I think if Paul and Tina do end up together, Tina would feel quite secure in knowing that Paul is not going to be out straying in these streets, okay? Anyway, so now the ladies are back for the deliberation. Uncle Tommy basically informed everyone that Eric bowed gracefully and left the process. And then he started asking the ladies about their dates. So all of them started talking about their dates. Sabrina mentioned that her ex liked one of the D's the most. And I'm like, girl, you finally learned, honey. This is what you should have done at the Truth or Dare, not nibble on Demetrius's ear and, ruin your connection with Tori. Although I think, to be honest, Tori, it was never going to work for Tori. Tori is extremely emotional. Is one of those people that I feel like leads with their emotions. It's like, it's okay to be emotional, but you can't be leading. Your emotions cannot rule you. Yeah, we'll come back to that on a different day. Anyway, so I guess, the aftermath of the Truth or Dare was quite upsetting. She didn't want to redo, honey. She did not. But anyways, it was time for Who Are We Not Feeling? So the ladies started to mention Levine and Tori. So Dakia was basically saying that with Levine, she felt some negative energy and then she matched it. I'm like, girl, I like Dakia. Dakia is my girl, honey. I like that woman. I don't know what it is about Dakia that I like. I just like her. Like, I think she's just down to earth, honest, just easygoing. Just like, yeah, I felt the negative vibes, I gave him back. That's basically what that means, essentially. Like, he brought it and I gave it back to him all the way. Okay? Joy basically said that with Tori, she thinks the process is too much for him and that the truth or dare was a lot for him, which I agree. It's interesting that Joy was saying that because Joy, if I remember correctly, when there was a potential for you to get eliminated, you were given pow pow and almost killing the messenger. So, honey, you felt the process was a bit too much for you as well. You were coming across all sorts of distraughts last week, honey. So don't forget. Don't think it's not gonna be next week where, it's gonna be your turn soon, honey, if you're not careful. But anyways, we move. So back to the truth or dare, right? So Sabrina was like, well, he recovered just fine because he kissed somebody after that. I was like, oops. At this point, everyone started like drinking. I was like, ooh. He started singing, oh my God. I was like, okay. I wasn't ready. I was like, all right, Ace. That was funny as hell. People started drinking, the side eye. Everything was funny. I agree with Sabrina, though. I feel like he went out of his way to kiss Precious. And I agree with what she said. She was like, that is a turn off for her. I'm like, I hear that. That is definitely a turn off. You go out of your way to kiss someone, that is a turn off. But yeah, it's like you're acting like a little, I don't want to say it. Anyways, we move. So it was time for the deliberation dates. It was Sabrina was meant to do the deliberation dates. Did I say deliberation? It's not deliberation. What are they called again? Elimination. Yes. Thank you. It's not like anyone said it, but but yeah, right? Elimination dates. Okay. So Sabrina was meant to have the elimination date with Levine and Dakia Tori. So Levine walked in, right? So with some negative energy. But before that, as soon as, I don't know if you watched it, but did you see how Levine parked that car? I was like, okay, what is this energy? He comes out of the car and then starts talking in the confessionals about how before the date he got some heads up that Carmen, Sabrina, and Christina are coming after him. I'm like, bro, what the hell? Chill. What is that energy? Your energy is all the way off. Then he was like, they had a plan to vote him out. They want to break his connection with Ace and they are really gunning for him. I'm like, honey, calm all the way down. First of all, even if there was a plan to vote you out, right? The way you're talking like a psycho. Like, it's actually very concerning. Like, I wonder what sort of person you are, because the energy you're bringing is so certainly off. Like, you guys, I watched that part so many times, and I'm going to watch it again because the energy was too much for me. I was like, what is going on? He walked into the elimination, right? He walked into it. Sabrina wanted to hug him. He did not hug her. He gave her a dab. I don't even know what that was. It was like a little, like, just like, I don't know, man. And then he was like, let me make this easy for you. I was like, okay. And then Sabrina was like, when we actually greet, like, what's going on? And then he was like, well, let me make this easy for you. I know you're here to say I'm not ready to love. And I'm just like, guy, let her sit down. Let her have a conversation with you. Like, chill, calm down. It's like you're taking rejection so badly. Like, you reminded me of, like, guys, when they try to talk to you on the streets, you say no, and then they're like, oh, you're ugly anyway. I'm like, yo, if I was ugly, why did you try to talk to me? Like, get out. But that was the vibe he was giving me. It was like someone that can't handle rejection and then switched up on you because you finally rejected them. Like, it just gives me that vibe. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. So Sabrina was like, the energy he walked up with was ugly. You know, she doesn't dislike him. She's just trying to have a conversation. And then he's like, I heard you guys' plan to vote me out. So we're just going to go ahead and say I'm not ready to love. You guys made this plan last week, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And then Sabrina was like, I'm genuinely hurt by the way you're acting. I'm blown away by you. Sabrina got upset, rightfully so. She got up. She ended up walking out and then calling him out. And, you know, he was just there. Like, I was just like, I don't know what's up with this dude. But anyway, Sabrina ended up walking out. And Sabrina was basically saying that he seemed like a little petty, spiteful man. And I think that is put so carefully. And I actually agree with that. I think that's actually perfect. You know, I don't know if you've met people that are short, but have such a short man syndrome is what that's called. Now, not all short men have this, but some short men have this syndrome where it's like, because what they don't have in height, they try to make up for it in other things, in being very egotistical, in being very domineering, in being very just awful, right? And so it's like this arrogance, this pride, this that just comes, and I just always wondered. It's like, so when she said that little petty spiteful man, I was like, that's the impression I get. And it's interesting, when she was leaving, he threw it in there that Precious was the one that told him about their plan to eliminate him. And I'm like, even if Precious mentioned something about that, I don't think it was said in the way in which Levine took it. But it'll be interesting to see at the reunion. But even if it was, there is no reason for you to go that far out, that negative. Like, I don't understand that. Anyways, we'll come back to this. But before that, the other elimination date, Daki and Tori went on that. They seem to have like a decent talk and stuff. Towards the end of the date, Kia was like, oh, he's not bad. When you've seen someone as a friend for so long and then you go out on a date with them and you're like, oh, he's not half bad. He's not as bad as I would do. And then you think, okay, there's a potential that maybe one time, maybe eventually there could be something there. That's what the vibe that I was getting from that. But anyways, the confessionals with freaking Levine was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It was like this was his last shot at giving this love and dating thing a chance, and that, well, it's gonna be him and his dog and they're just gonna roll. I'm like, dude, you were acting very, very, very little right now. I'm not loving that. I'm very curious as to, for me, I think the reunion is what I'm waiting for now, because I want to see whether he shows up and what attitude he'll be on when he shows up. I just think that would be good TV. So I will wait patiently for the reunion. Now, thank you for listening to this episode. Now, I cannot wait for 2 shows that I would be adding to my review, these shows I actually genuinely love and watch for myself. One is Put a Ring on It, and one is Love and Marriage Huntsville. So if you do want reviews and talks and chit chats about these sorts of episodes and the show, let me know and I will do that for you guys. Thank you for listening. Give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe and tap that bell for notifications so you know every single time that I post, now that I'm expanding to doing other shows that are coming up as well. Like I said, I tend to only do shows that I like and I'm passionate about. But if there are any shows that you want me to do a recap or review on, let me know and I will do that for you guys. Thank you so much for watching and have a nice day. Bye.